Hello everyone, and welcome to your guide to popular builds and Heroes of the Storm. My name is Serendeth, and today we'll be checking out one of my favorite heroes, Murky, and his Slimy-Bubble assassin build. But before we get into any of that, a quick disclaimer. These guides are not written in stone. They are here to point you in the right direction, but ultimately, they are a tool to help you learn the hero on your own. Now we've gotten through that, let's take a look at Murky. He is a melee specialist from the Warcraft universe. Murky once lived a peaceful existence, eating fish, swimming, and murgle-lurgling with his fellow murlocs until they came and burned it all to the ground. All because some human didn't want to share fish in a lake. Now Murky is set out on his quest of vengeance and will let nothing stand in his way. He has a very unique kit that allows him to not only be a nuisance on the battlefield, but push lanes incredibly hard and deal a surprising amount of damage in team fights. Before we get into his talent build, let's take a quick look at his skills. His trait is called Spawn Egg. This is a 15-second cooldown that allows Murky to place an egg, revealing a small area around it. As long as the egg is still alive when Murky dies, he will spawn from it 5 seconds later. If the egg is ever destroyed, Murky will be revealed to all enemies for 15 seconds. Egg placement is very important. You not only want to keep it safe, but also close to the action. It is also important to note that Murky's trait makes it so he is only worth 25% of the experience of a normal hero when killed. Murky's Q is called Slime. This is a 4-second cooldown AoE ability that does moderate damage to nearby enemies and covers them in slime for 8 seconds, slowing their movement speed by 20%. Slime does increased damage to enemies already covered in slime. This is going to be your mainstay damaging ability. The slow will allow you to reposition, body block, and get more and more slimes off on enemies. His W is called Pufferfish. This is a 15-second cooldown AoE skill shot that spits out a pufferfish at the targeted location. After 3 seconds, the pufferfish will explode for massive damage. Enemies can destroy the pufferfish and prevent it from exploding. This is an amazing ability that can clear a wave very quickly and can deal a lot of damage in teamfights with proper placement. Murky's E is called Safety-Bubble. This is a 14-second cooldown ability that encases Murky in a bubble, making him invulnerable for 2 seconds. While inside the bubble, he cannot attack or use abilities. This is an amazing escape tool that makes you very difficult and annoying to deal with in lane and in team fights. Now that we've covered his base abilities, let's take a quick look at his heroics. His first heroic is called March of the Murlocs. This is a 100-second cooldown directional AoE ability that summons a legion of Murlocs that march toward the targeted direction, each one leaping onto the first enemy or structure they come across. Each Murloc will deal moderate damage and slows enemies by 15% for 5 seconds. This ability only does 50% damage against structures. This is a very strong tool for zoning objectives or dealing a nice chunk of damage during team fights. However, there is some RNG with how the Murlocs are summoned, which can take some getting used to. His second heroic is called Octograb. This is a 50-second cooldown targeted ability that summons an octopus that wraps up and stuns the target for 3 seconds, while Murky smacks them in the face with a fish for very light damage. This is an amazing lockdown tool with a targeted stun on a relatively short cooldown. The nice thing about this ability is that even if Murky is killed, the octopus still holds the target down. Just keep in mind that this is a stun, so it can be cleansed. Now that we've covered his basic abilities, let's jump into the talents. At level 1, you're going to go with Fish Tank. This is basically a form of block that allows Murky to reduce incoming basic attack damage by 50% every 5 seconds. This is extremely helpful during the laning phase, allowing you to jump into an enemy, dealing some damage to them without getting destroyed by their auto attacks. At level 4, you have a choice to make. The choice comes down to personal preference and how good you are at staying alive. Your first choice is Living the Dream. This is a passive that grants 5% ability power baseline, which then increases by 1% to a maximum of 15% for every 5 seconds you stay alive. When you die, you are reset back to the 5% baseline and you need to start stacking again. If you're really good at staying alive, then this ability will allow you to really put out a lot of damage. Your other choice is to go with bigger slime. This increases slime's radius by 30%. It may not seem like a lot, but this will allow you to hit more targets in team fights, which means more slows, and even more damage when your slime comes back off a cooldown in 4 seconds. At level 7, you're going to take even more advantage of Slime's low cooldown with Slime Advantage. This is going to grant your basic attacks 100% bonus damage against slime targets. This talent really lets you take advantage of keeping slime up on a target by not only slowing them, but also dealing more damage with each subsequent slime and auto attacks. For Murky's heroic, you're going to go with Octograb. This is a very strong heroic that allows you to lock down an important target, preventing them from dealing damage, healing, or escaping during a team fight or during a gank. The 50-second cooldown means it will almost always be up when you need it most. All of that said, March can be a strong heroic, however the RNG elements of where the Murlocs spawn from and the 100-second cooldown make it tough to recommend for this build. At level 13, you have a choice to make. Personally, I would highly recommend you go with Bubble Machine, which reduces the cooldown of Safety Bubble by 5 seconds, making an already annoying Murloc even more annoying. However, if you're looking to get just a little bit more damage out of this build, then you can go with Continuous Slime. This talent reduces the cooldown of Slime from 4 seconds to 3 seconds. While this is only a 1 second cooldown reduction, that reduction will add up over the course of a team fight, possibly turn the fight in your favor. What is more annoying than a Murloc that can encase himself in a bubble to avoid your attacks? How about one that can encase himself in a bubble to avoid your attacks and heal for 50% of his maximum life? Rejuvenating Bubble does just that, allowing your Safety Bubble to heal you for 50% of your health. At level 20, you have another choice. Your go-to choice is going to be End the Shark too. Instead of smacking someone in the face with a fish, now Murky pulls a shark out of somewhere and crushes their skull with it. This is going to increase the damage you deal during Octograb by a lot, and will really help you take out those opponents wrapped up in your Octograb. Just keep in mind that if you are killed while the Octograb is going on, you don't deal the damage. If the enemy is focusing you hard, or you just find that every time you get an Octo off, they are killing you, then you'll go with Rewind. This is a 60-second cooldown activatable that resets the cooldown of all your basic abilities. This is going to allow you to get some really nasty combos out there, or throw out 2 puffer fish during a team fight to really dish out some AoE damage, or even get a clutch reset on a Safety Bubble, keeping you alive just that much longer. Murky's Slimy-Bubble Assassin build is a very strong build that brings great lane clear, makes him very annoying to lane against, has amazing split push potential with 0 mana issues, and makes him great at stalling out objectives like Tributes and Dragon Knights. However, he does have a very low health pool, so you can and will die a lot. Knowing where to put your egg will take some practice, Octograb can be cleansed, and teammates may dislike the fact that you are playing Murky, mostly because they don't understand what you bring to the table. Alright, now that we've covered all of that, let's go over some quick tips for Murky. Regen globes grant you a lot of health, so when you are exchanging fire in lane, or you're in your bubble, make sure to snatch them up so you can keep on fighting. When people see your egg, they will almost always try and kill it, so with a well-coordinated team, you can place your egg in spots that will draw the enemy close so your team can pounce. Just don't be too obvious about it. Along the same lines, good egg placement will allow you to stall an objective near indefinitely. Between good bubble use and the ability to come back to life near the objective time and time again, you can give your team a chance to regroup or soak lanes just that much longer. This next one is good information for everyone, not just the Murky players. Keep in mind that you are only worth 25% of the experience of a normal hero, and you will respawn within 5 seconds as long as your egg is still out. So giving up your life to save an allies is more than worth the sacrifice, especially in the late game when death timers get longer. With that in mind, you are the ideal choice to pilot things like the Garden Terror and the Dragon Knight, because you can go deeper and stay longer than anyone else, because when you pop out, not only can you be annoying to kill, but if you do end up going down, you'll respawn in 5 seconds. Last but not least, people will do crazy things to kill Murky during the 15 seconds his egg is down. Use that to your advantage and try and lure the enemy into compromising positions so your team can pounce on them. Oh, and a bonus tip. If during the laning phase you find the enemies destroying your pufferfish, preventing you from clearing the wave, then you can move into the minion wave and toss the pufferfish underneath you, making it much harder for them to target it. Just make sure you use that safety bubble to stay alive and grab the regen globe to get back any lost life. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you found this guide helpful. If you have any variations or tips for this build, feel free to share them in the comments below. Thanks again for watching, and until next time, I will catch you all later.